Shalom, Israel. This is Yuda Yasharel. We're going to talk about the dietary law today because I have seen so many differences of opinions. And clearly, to me, the way you get to that many differences of opinions is a lack of understanding. It's a difference between reading and studying. Now, these dietary laws are pretty simplistic. I mean, really simple. So, we're going to start in Genesis. This is the first diet. And the belief that man was not to eat meat was true in man's first diet. That was true. They didn't eat flesh. But that changed, and we're going to see where the change took place so that we can get a much clearer understanding. Because there's a lot of people that don't believe that we can eat meat. But after today, you should be clear on whether that's true or not. Now, I will be the first to tell you, and this is based off of personal experience. The difference between the meat here in Africa from the meat in the U.S. and probably other countries is that Africa do not put preservatives in their meat. They don't use growth hormones and other additives. In the U.S., they do. The preservatives they use to keep that meat looking like it's so fresh, bright red and white with the gristle. You know, they use chemicals to do that. To be honest, nobody knows how long that meat has been stored or kept in that store. And according to the sacrificial laws, if y'all had ever noticed, every time the Most High required a sacrifice, it was always the flesh of an animal. And that animal was always a year old. So that means the older that animal gets, the harder it is to digest that meat. Which is why he wants a 1-year-old calf, lamb, or sheep, or even goat. Now, reading from Genesis chapter 1, verses 29 to 31. And remember, in the beginning, we were not to eat meat, but we're going to see where we were able to eat meat and when it happened. And the Most High said, Behold, I have given you every herb bearing seed, which is upon the face of all the earth, and every tree, and which is the fruit of a tree yielding seed. To you it shall be for meat. Now let me explain something about that word meat, because nobody is breaking that word down with the concordance. Meat simply means food. That's when you are looking at this word in the biblical context. It means food. It also represents flesh. You have to know where and when to separate the two. And that's context. If you're not gathering context, you will never understand what's going on. And I have told that in several lessons that I've done. And to every beast of the earth, and to every fowl of the air, and to everything that creepeth upon the earth, wherein there is life, I have given every green herb for meat, for food. And it was so. And the Most High saw everything that he had made, and behold, it was very good. And the evening and the morning were the sixth day. That was the first diet. All right. Now, this second diet starts with Noah. Now, let's look at what it says. Genesis chapter 6, verse 14 to 22. Make thee an ark of gopher wood. Rooms shalt thou make in the ark, and shalt pitch it within and without with pitch. And this is the fashion which thou shalt make it of. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits. A cubit is 1 foot and a half. Do the math. The length of the ark shall be 300 cubits. The breadth of it 50 cubits, and the height of it 30 cubits. A window shalt thou make to the ark, and in a cubit shalt thou finish it above. And the door of the ark shalt thou set in the side thereof, with lower, second, and third stories shalt thou make it. And behold, I, even I, do bring a flood of waters upon the earth to destroy all flesh, wherein is the breath of life from under heaven, and everything that is in the earth shall die. But with thee will I establish my covenant, and thou shalt come into the ark, thou and thy sons and thy wife and thy sons' wives with thee, and of every living thing of all flesh, 2 of every sort shalt thou bring into the ark, to keep them alive with thee. They shall be male and female, of fowls after their kind, and of cattle after their kind, of every creeping thing of the earth after his kind. 2 of every sort shall come unto thee, to keep them alive. And take thou unto thee of all food that is eaten, and thou shalt gather it to thee, and it shall be for food for thee and for them. Thus did Noah, according to all the Most High commanded him, so did he. Now, here's where we seem to miss the change. This is man's diet after the flood. What we just saw was before the flood. Now pay close attention, because we're going to see that this rumor about we can't eat meat, and then some says that we were told we could eat anything if we were hungry. I'm going to prove that's a lie, and it's not true. Man's diet after the flood. After the flood, the truce between man and beast was broken, and man became meat eaters, and so did the beasts of the field. Now let's examine this. Genesis chapter 7, verse 1 through 9. And the Most High said unto Noah, Come thou and all thine house into the ark. For thee I have seen righteous before me in this generation. Of every clean beast thou shalt take to thee by sevens, the male and his female, and of beasts that are not clean by 2, the male and his female, of fowls also of the air by sevens, the male and the female, to keep seed alive upon the face of all the earth. For yet 7 days, and I will cause it to rain upon the earth 40 days and 40 nights. You know, let me just mention something right here. When we talk about the Sabbath, I try to tell y'all that the day and the night are separate. They do not coexist, which is what I was trying to point out that you cannot keep a Sabbath night because it was never commanded. You have to keep the Sabbath day. Think about it. When you go on vacation, you get these vacation offers, sometimes in the mail or the emails, and they tell you you can have a 3-night and 4-day stay for X amount of dollars. Did you notice? They even separate the day from the night. Now I had to emphasize on that. And every living substance that I have made will I destroy from off the face of the earth. And Noah did according unto all the Most High commanded him. And Noah was 600 years old when the flood of waters was upon the earth. And Noah went in, and his sons, and his wife, and his sons' wives with him into the ark, because of the waters of the flood, of clean beasts, and of beasts that are not clean, and of fowls, and of everything that creepeth upon the earth. There went in two unto Noah into the ark, the male and the female, as the Most High had commanded Noah. Genesis chapter 9, verse 1 through 7. And the Most High blessed Noah and his sons, and said unto them, Be fruitful and multiply, and replenish the earth. And the fear of you and the dread of you shall be upon every beast of the earth, and upon every fowl of the air, upon all that moveth upon the earth, and upon all the fishes of the sea. Into your hand are they delivered. Every moving thing that liveth. Now y'all listen really, really close. Every moving thing that liveth shall be meat for you. Even as the green herb have I given you all things. But flesh with the life thereof, which is the blood thereof, shall ye not eat. Listen, he's saying you can eat the flesh. With the life thereof, you cannot. That is the blood. So you can eat the flesh, but you must kosher. That means that meat must be soaked in water until all the blood has been removed from that flesh. You cannot eat the blood. He did not say you cannot eat the flesh. Now listen, and surely your blood of your lives will I require. At the hand of every beast will I require it, and at the hand of man, and at the hand of every man's brother will I require the life of man. Whoso sheddeth man's blood, by man shall his blood be shed. For in the image of the Most High made he man. And you be ye fruitful and multiply. Bring forth abundantly in the earth and multiply therein. Okay. Now, putting a difference between the holy and unholy, and between the clean and the unclean. This is what I mean by do more than just read. To get an understanding, you can't do it without context. So today, we're getting both the reading, the study, and the context. And the Most High spake unto Aaron, saying, Do not drink wine nor strong drink, thou, nor thy sons with thee, when you go into the tabernacle of the congregation, lest ye die. Let me clear this up. The Most High himself said to Israel, when they were on their way to Jerusalem for their tithings, remember when he told them that if the load was too much for you to bear, that means you got too much stuff to make that long distance travel, that you could sell off everything you had for money. And then once you make it to the land where he placed his name, where you, or where he chose, where you will now be worshiping and paying your tithes, he said, take that money and buy whatever your heart's desire, even wine and strong drink. Doesn't that mean that you are permitted to have wine or strong drink? Not saying you should get drunk, but he did not tell you you couldn't have strong drink. But listen to what he said, and he's talking to Aaron. He's talking to the Levite priest. Do not drink wine nor strong drink, thou nor thy sons with thee, when you go into the tabernacle of congregation. That was the stipulation for that particular incident, for that particular event. See, people read too much into things and not enough into others, and then they come out with no understanding. And that ye may put difference between holy and unholy, and between unclean and clean, and that you may teach the children of Israel all the statutes which the Most High hath spoken unto them by the hand of Moses. Now, let's take a look at some of the unclean beasts. All right? These are camels, swine, the lion. Let's just read over. These are the beasts, unclean. And the Most High spake unto Moses and to Aaron, saying unto them, nevertheless, these shall ye not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the hoof, as the camel, because he cheweth the cud, but divided not the hoof. He is unclean unto you. And the coney, because he cheweth the cud, but divided not the hoof. He is unclean to you. Now, if you're not permitted to eat meat, why is he making the separation between the meat you can't eat from the meat you can eat? I'm not going to go through all this, but most of you know you can't eat shrimp, you can't eat lobster, crab, scallops, eagles, and all this stuff. You know that. All right? So let's go look at a quick look on the clean beast. These are the clean beasts. The cow, the deer. And the Most High spake unto Moses and Aaron, saying unto them, speak unto the children of Israel, saying, these are the beasts which ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. What does that mean? Ye shall eat. All right? What do you see? How do you see? And how can you find we can't eat meat? Now, I'll be the first one to agree with you. Eating meat in America is a bad idea because it is full of undesirables and chemicals and who knows what else. It is just defiled. But yeah, we got to eat, right? I know the predicament that people face in that country. I came from that country. I lived, grew up in that country. So yeah, I know the foods that we eat in that country are poison. The air you breathe in that country is laced with poison. Look at all the chemtrails you see in your skies. We don't see that over here. There is no chemtrails in these skies, none whatsoever. But this clearly tells you, these are the beasts that ye shall eat among all the beasts that are on the earth. Whatsoever parteth the hoof, and is cloven-footed, and cheweth the cud, among the beasts that shall ye eat. This is very, very simple. I really don't understand how in the world a person calls themselves reading the scriptures and they come away with believing you can't eat meat. How did you read this book and not see this? So I'm not gonna go into all the details on that. I'm gonna try to keep this relatively short. I'm 20 minutes in it already. But I wanted y'all to see that there's much more. But you should go to these books and read with an understanding so that you can come away with an understanding and not some self-created hypothesis. In other words, leaning toward your own understanding instead of what the Most High himself said. Now let's look at Leviticus chapter 20, verse 25, 26. Ye shall therefore put difference between clean beast and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean. Now I'm going to stop right here and bring something to y'all's memory. When Israel was out in the wilderness, after they left Egypt, and they were complaining about not having any meat to eat, the Most High rained down quail. Now this the Most High did himself. Is not quail meat? You got to think. The Most High provided quail, meat, for the children of Israel. Ye shall therefore put difference between clean beasts and unclean, and between unclean fowls and clean. And ye shall not make your souls abominable by beast or by fowl, or by any manner of living thing that creepeth on the ground, which I have separated from you as unclean. There is a clean and there is an unclean. He separated. And ye shall be holy unto me, for I, the Most High, am holy, and have severed, that means cut apart, you from other people, that ye shall be mine. Let's look at Deuteronomy chapter 14, verses 3 to 21. Thou shalt not eat any abominable thing. That's very specific. Is clean beast abominable? No. Is unclean beast abominable? Yes. The two are separated. But they're both meat. These are the beasts which, what does it say? These are the beasts which ye shall eat. Maybe I should say that again. These are the beasts, flesh, which you shall eat. Let me name them off for you. The ox, the sheep, and the goat, the hart, and the roebuck, and the fallow deer, and the wild goat, and the pygarg, and the wild ox, and the shamus, and every beast that parteth the hoof, and cleaveth the cleft into the claws, and cheweth the cud, among the beasts that you shall eat. How many times does that make now? And y'all, I'm going to tell you, man, I have run across so many people. They want to argue me down about, well, we ain't supposed to be eating meat. Listen, if you don't want to eat meat, there is no sin in that. Don't get me wrong. There is no sin in not eating meat. It is a personal preference. If you prefer vegetables, then eat vegetables. There's no sin in that. But don't try to tell people that it's a sin to eat meat, because you're calling the Most High a lie. Listen to him. Look at what he said. That you shall eat. Nevertheless, these you shall not eat of them that chew the cud, or of them that divide the cloven hoof, as the camel, and the hare, which is a rabbit, and the coney, for they chew the cud, but divide not the hoof. Therefore they are unclean unto you. And the swine, the pig, because it divideth the hoof, yet cheweth not the cud, it is unclean to you. You shall not eat of their flesh, nor touch their dead carcass. That means you do not bring pork chops in your house, open the package, grab them with your hand, throw them in your skillet and cook them. Even if you don't eat it, you've broken the law the minute you put your hands on it. That cut of pork chop is a piece of a carcass. That you do not eat, and you do not touch. Now these ye shall eat of all that are in the waters. Now we're going to the creatures in the ocean and the seas. All that have fins and scales shall ye eat, and whatsoever hath not fins and scales you may not eat. It is unclean to you. Of all clean birds ye shall eat. That's meat, people. But these are they of which you shall not eat: the eagle, and the osprich, and the osprey, and the glede, and the kite, and the vulture after his kind, and every raven after his kind, and the fowl, and the nighthawk, and the cuckoo, and the hawk after his kind, the little owl, and the great owl, and the swan, and the pelican, and the gier eagle, and the cormorant, and the stork, and the heron after her kind, and the lapwing, and the bat, and every creeping thing that flieth is unclean unto you. They shall not be eaten. But of all clean fowls you may eat. It is flesh, people. You shall not eat of anything that dies of itself. If something dies on its own, don't go out saying, well, I can't let it go to waste. Might as well cook it and eat it. He says, and you shall not eat of anything that dies of itself. Thou shalt give it, listen closely, thou shalt give it unto the stranger that is in thy gates, that he may eat it, or thou mayest sell it unto an alien, that is somebody outside of your tribe, both stranger and alien. For thou art an holy people unto the Most High, your Creator. Thou shalt not seethe a kid in its mother's milk. What does that mean? That means don't soak a baby goat in its mother's milk. I know people from my childhood that used to do that. I never knew why. I didn't know it was a sin, but I've seen it done. And the children of Israel, this is Judges, chapter 13, verse 1 through 4. And the children of Israel did evil again in the sight of the Most High. And the Most High delivered them into the land of the Philistines 40 years. And there was a certain man of Zorah, of the family of Danites, whose name was Manoah. And his wife was barren and bare not. And the angel of the Most High appeared unto the woman and said unto her, Behold, now thou art barren and bearest not. but thou shalt conceive and bear a son. Now therefore beware, I pray thee, and drink not not wine nor strong drink, and eat not any unclean thing. He's showing you, I have separated the clean from the unclean, and he's letting them know at this particular time in your life, make sure you don't eat nothing unclean and do not drink any wine or strong drink. Now, let me look at this for a second. Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 9 through 14. Take thou also unto thee wheat and barley and beans and lentils and millet and fitches, and put them in one vessel, and make thee bread thereof according to the number of the days that thou shalt lie upon thy side. 390 days shalt thou eat thereof, and thy meat which thou shalt eat, what did he say? And thy meat which thou shalt what? Eat shall be by weight. Now, I'm not trying to get into this whole story here. I mean, I've read this before. Me and my wife, we studied over this. This confuses a lot of people because they don't realize what's being told to this prophet. And we didn't at first, but we do now. But what I want you to see is this: and thy meat which thou shalt eat. This lesson is to point out that it is a fable when someone tells you you cannot or wasn't supposed to eat meat. Okay, Daniel chapter 1, verse 8 through 16. But Daniel proposed in his heart that he would not defile himself with a portion of the king's meat, nor with the wine which he drank. Therefore he requested to the prince of the eunuchs that he might not defile himself. Now, most people, I would dare guess, have probably read this scripture, and I can tell you what they came away with. Oh, we can't eat meat. Listen, the reason Daniel did not eat the king's meat, they ate any and everything, most of which was unclean. Pork was one of their favorites. Daniel was not going to eat that. Now the Most High had brought Daniel into favor and tender love with the prince of the eunuchs. And the prince of the eunuchs said unto Daniel, I fear my lord the king, who hath appointed your meat and your drink. For why should he see your faces worse liking than the children which are of your sort? Then shall ye make me endanger my head to the king? You see, this servant is worried that if Daniel don't eat and he gets thin, the king is going to probably kill him because he didn't feed him. And Daniel says, I'm not going to eat that. And if you think that we're going to be worse off by not eating your foods, then let us have this diet that we require. And then at the end of a certain period of time, Daniel told him, come and check and see if we are fair or unfair. In other words, did we dwindle in our health or did we increase? And they increased. So Daniel then said, Daniel to Melzar, whom the prince of the eunuchs had set over Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, prove thy servants, I beseech thee, 10 days, and let them give us pulse to eat and water to drink. Then let our countenance be looked upon before thee, and the countenance of the children that eat of the portion of the king's meat. In other words, compare us to those who eats of the king's meat. And as thou seest, deal with our servants. So the servant of the king consented. He consented to them in this matter and proved them 10 days. He gave Daniel and his group 10 days to eat their choice of food, comparing to the king's meat, which his servants and his people ate. And at the end of 10 days, their countenance appeared fairer and fatter in flesh than all the children which did eat of the portion of the king's meat. Now again, this lesson was solely focused on whether or not it's okay to eat meat. All right? That's the whole purpose of this. So I'm going to end this lesson here, and I really hope that you all understand. In order to get understanding, there is a process. First, you read. Then you read again. Then you study what you read. While you study what you read, take all the words that relate to the context, take the time out to look them up. And fourth or fifth, gather your evidence. That's the context. Start at the beginning and read to the end, because in that story is your context. It is telling you what was going on, why it was going on, everything you need to know to come to an educated conclusion is in the story, not the verse. Our people make their biggest mistakes by relying on just the verse alone. And then they try to preach a sermon off of that one verse, and they have no idea what the context is. So what are they doing? They're telling you their opinion based on what that verse sounded like it meant. It's a big difference from what it sounded like it meant compared to what it was. What did it really mean? So with that being said, Israel, shalom, and all praises to the Most High.